The Honorable Judge Ebony K. Rose sat regally behind the mahogany bench, her gaze sweeping across the courtroom with a mixture of authority and sharp intellect. She adjusted her robe, the fabric crisp, mirroring the precision she demanded in her domain. She was a woman of diverse origins, having absorbed the warmth of Louisiana, the resilience of North Carolina, the relaxed sophistication of the West Coast, and the uncompromising directness of New York. To her, this courtroom was not merely a physical space. It was a sanctuary where the highest ideals of the nation, freedom and integrity, were held as sacred tenets. She viewed her role as a voice for the voiceless, a guardian of equity for every individual, regardless of their background, orientation, or walk of life. The air in the courtroom shifted as the proceedings commenced. Before her stood two individuals caught in a web of legal and personal misunderstanding. On the side of the plaintiff was Derek Goodwin, a man who carried the heavy burden of a father protecting his child. Opposite him stood Julia Hadley, the defendant, a landlord whose professional oversight had led to an unfortunate series of events. Judge Rose looked down at the documents before her, her voice steady and resonant. She addressed the assembly, ensuring that the gravity of the situation was understood by all present. Derek Goodwin had filed a lawsuit against Julia Hadley, seeking $20,000 in damages. He asserted that he had been living in one of her rental units, fully paid up on his financial obligations, when he and his 5-year-old daughter returned home one day to find their lives scattered upon the curb. Their possessions had been unceremoniously removed, some left to the elements, others discarded in a dumpster. The emotional toll was evident. Among the lost items was a beloved teddy bear belonging to his young daughter, an object of comfort that had been found torn asunder on the street. The judge listened intently as Mr. Goodwin explained his tenure in the home. He described how he had moved in with his then-girlfriend, who was the primary name on the lease, and how he had remained in the unit even after their relationship concluded, solely to provide stability for his daughter's schooling. He claimed that he had consistently paid the rent, which had been adjusted to $2,500, a figure communicated verbally and honored without dispute. Ms. Hadley, in her defense, argued from the perspective of strict contractual adherence. She maintained that because Mr. Goodwin's name was not on the lease, he held no legal standing to claim the protections afforded to a formal tenant. She admitted, with a measure of professional remorse, that her property management team had indeed committed a grievous error by targeting the wrong unit for an eviction notice. She insisted that once the mistake was discovered, they had attempted to retrieve what they could, but that most of the items had already vanished into the city's sprawl. Judge Rose weighed the testimonies against the evidence presented. She noted the lease agreement, which contained inaccuracies regarding both the rental amount and the governing state law, highlighting a lack of diligence in the document's drafting. She scrutinized the rental payments and the occupancy history. It became clear that while Mr. Goodwin was not a signatory on the lease, his physical presence and financial contributions were undeniable facts of the living arrangement. The courtroom fell into a profound silence as Judge Rose prepared to deliver her ruling. She looked at Ms. Hadley, her eyes conveying a stern lesson in the realities of property law. She reminded the landlord that the law had evolved to recognize the rights of those in possession of a property, regardless of whether their name appeared on a formal contract. Possession, she noted, often carried more weight than the four corners of a flawed document. The landlord's failure to inspect the unit for over a year, despite knowing a child resided there, spoke to a lack of oversight that directly contributed to the current predicament. The judge turned her attention to Mr. Goodwin. She acknowledged the validity of his pain and the injustice of the situation. However, she also grounded her decision in the reality of legal proof. While his claim for $20,000 represented the total value of his life's furnishings, the evidence provided to the court only substantiated a fraction of that amount. She could not base a judgment on estimation alone. She required tangible proof of value, which she found only in the receipts for the television and the sofa. With the authority vested in her, Judge Rose rendered her verdict. She ruled in favor of the plaintiff, Derek Goodwin, but limited the award to $5,000, the specific amount for which he had offered undeniable proof of valuation. She concluded the proceedings by underscoring the necessity of accountability and the importance of professional integrity in the housing sector. As the gavel struck, the courtroom stood. The air was no longer heavy with conflict, but cleared by the resolution of truth. Mr. Goodwin, though perhaps not receiving the full sum he had imagined, walked away with the validation that his rights as a human being and a father had been recognized by the law. Ms. Hadley, for her part, was left with a stark reminder that a business is only as sound as the people who manage it and the care they take in their duties. Judge Rose had once again ensured that the principles of equal justice were not merely spoken, but practiced, leaving the courtroom with the quiet dignity of a mission fulfilled.